Hey guys, just wanted to talk today about some of the Final Fantasy XIV elitism and ableism that I've experienced the higher levels of the raiding community. And to start off, I'll just explain like who I am. If you don't know who I am, I'm Wave, and I was a healer for a high-end static called Protocol Pals. We have a lot of experienced players, people who have played the game for multiple years since A Realm Reborn, since Heaven's Ward. People like Rin Kargane, people like Saya. And this static was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in raiding. We spent, over the course of 3 weeks, we probably trialed or replaced over 10 people, many of which were doing quite well. I had one co-healer who I thought was doing very well. Maybe not very well, they were doing well. They were not holding us back, I don't think. But the logs were not up to par. The logs were inspected and the logs were not up to par, so that co-healer was replaced. And this is what I'm going to talk about today, is Final Fantasy XIV elitism, and how people in this game at the higher levels are way too focused on this on these logs and on this type of thing. So, and I want to talk about how difficult it is to play with these type of people when you yourself are trying to learn the game. When you yourself are not a player with 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of experience, have not been playing since Heaven's Ward, have not been playing since Realm Reborn, that's what I want to talk about. So, let's start off with my experience on P5. And in this experience, my co-healer and I got into a bit of an argument, because they kept spamming the GCD heal and losing all of their mana. So I kept telling them, like, hey, I told them like twice, hey, you can stop GCD healing here, or do it GCD heal here less. And then they went back and looked at my logs. They said, no, you need the GCD heal more. And in this mechanic, this is P5. Now I will go and show you the logs. These are the logs from one of our polls. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. So, in these logs, I was not GCD healing during the downtime mechanic, because I was focused on the mechanic to try and learn the mechanic, because it's P5, it's the farthest fight we've been, it's farthest phase we've been in the fight, and I'm trying my best to not cause us to wipe. So I'm, maybe that is an issue. As a healer, I should be GCD healing, but instead of GCD healing, which causes me to stand still, have to try to slide cast, have to use focus, I just try to plan out my off globals and put them down, like the Earthly Star that hits the whole room. If I miss someone with my GCD heal, I have to spot heal them. Can I miss someone with Earthly Star? No, I can't. Macrocosmos, I can't miss anyone with Macrocosmos. Now, here's what was going on. My co-healer here was just spamming GCD heals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And I was doing, like, Macro, Star, Celestial Opposition. Had a Lady of Crowns here, got lucky this pull. Sometimes you get those. And to get to the point, aside from all these like funny numbers and stuff, we had a Okay, to get to the point, it became a log investigation, and people started to pile on, and we got to this. We got to this part where I had said one thing, like I had told the healer, I told my co-healer, like, hey, you can stop GCD healing here. You can do less GCD heals because you're losing all your mana. I will show you a clip, because this is what was going on. This is from Rin's stream. It's not my stream. I was not recording this day. I was not streaming this day. So from Rin's stream, you'll see what was going on. If you look at Dice's mana. Now already Dice's mana was very low. And this was from issues with previous phases. This was... I'm not sure why, if I'm being completely honest. Maybe they were GCD healing too much for mechanics, and I did tell them on the second day, because I played with 3 different co-healers in this static, and on the second day that Dice joined us as co-healer, I said to Dice, hey, you can do less GCD shields if you want, we just might need to communicate a little bit more about mitts and heals. And they were like, no, it's fine, I'll just do it for safety. I'm like, okay, for safety, that's good, you can do that. And that's, you know, maybe they were not managing their mana correctly, but or maybe it was just too much GCD shields, but this is what we're at. Okay, so Dice has 37,000 mana here, but the big kicker, the big issue, like this is okay. This is an okay amount of mana. It's not great, but for a downtime phase, this is an okay amount of mana. Because now what's going to happen is you should just keep getting up. See, 39,000, but boom, 32,000. Look, this is what was driving me crazy. 32,000 mana. What? Watch it again. Look at the mana. 25,000. It keeps going down. We're not taking any damage. Nothing is happening. 25,000 mana. 2,500 mana. 1,200 mana. The mana just keeps going down. Like 2,000 mana. And you want to know why? Okay, let's keep watching. So here we finally take a damage, but we still have shields. We have macro, we have horoscope, and we have neutral sect, and we still have shields on us. Okay, this machinist still has Eucrasian prognosis, so we're not in danger here. But look, the mana, like he keeps casting heals here. 1,300 mana, 1,500, 500. Now my co-healer has drained all of their mana at a point in the fight where we have not taken a single instance of damage, where we have not dropped from full HP ever. In the past like 15 seconds, we have not dropped from full HP, and my co-healer has drained all of their mana. 500 mana, 100 mana, and we still have barely dropped from full HP. Now this, like, applying shields here is good. I think this is a spot where it's good to apply shields here. Like the other shields broke, you should reapply the shields. It helps protect from the stack damage, but the point is, like, that would be 1 GCD shield. That's not 4,000 mana worth of GCD shielding. Like, the amount of mana that they just spent is insane. Any healer could look at this and tell you that this is not right. The healer should not be doing this. And you want to know why they're doing this? And I didn't understand it at first either. Like, I had no idea what was going on. So I talked to multiple healers who I knew who actually had experience in this game. And they told me, yeah, that's active uptime. That's a funny number, active uptime, you know, elitism strat, like, to get your number as high as possible. And I'm like, why? Why do they want active uptime in this downtime phase? It's the most dumb thing I ever saw. And they're just like, yeah, some people are like that. So I tried to ask Dice here, my co-healer, to stop doing this. And basically, they got so angry that first of all, they were not in voice chat the entire time. I sent one message in the text chat. They got so angry, they left the Discord, and they said either, and they basically told the static leader that it's me or him who's going to stay in the static. Well, you know, Dice has been a longtime friend of the static leader. Dice was originally a member, and they had cleared other stuff together, so I just joined the static 2 weeks ago. And so, unfortunately, the static leader had to message me and tell me, like, yeah, we're going to keep Dice and you're out. And And that feels awful, but that's not even the biggest problem, because after this, we try to have a discussion. And maybe I do not communicate in the correct way, because I start to feel a bit defensive, because I start to feel like I am the one being attacked. I am because like at a certain point in this, I start to feel like I am the one who has to defend myself. I have to point out like, hey, I'm healing as much as I can here. I'm doing as many heals as I can. I am trying my best to do as many heals as I can. I can almost do most of the healing in this phase. Like, I don't think my co-healer should just AFK and not heal, but I am trying my best. That's what I started to do in this conversation, in this communication. And this was not with Dice, because Dice was gone. I was trying to communicate. There was a certain point in this conversation when I wanted to just leave the voice chat. I wanted to leave the Discord server, and I wanted to never talk to these people again. But I stayed, because I wanted to try to make it work. I wanted to communicate. So I stayed, and I was like, here's my healing rotation. Here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm trying to heal this phase. And, you know, if Dice was there, my co-healer was there, we could try to communicate with each other. But, like, after 3 messages, I spoke to Dice for no more than like 3 messages over the past 2 days. We had to have some, because Dice is unwilling to talk to me, so we had some mediated conversation with the raid lead. It was very weird. But we got to a certain point in this discussion that I was having with Rin, where Rin's like, no, you're straining your co-healer. You are forcing your co-healer to have 0 mana here. You are not healing enough. Your co-healer is doing like 2-3 GCDs in an Ixtical, and they are not healing enough, and you are straining them. And I'm just sitting there in the moment. I'm thinking to myself, like, 3 GCD heals, that is not the full mana pool. But, you know, it's Rin Karagane. Like, what can I say to the man, you know? In the moment, I'm stressed, so I just keep defending myself. I just keep saying, like, this is my healing rotation. This is what healing I am doing. You know, I can't bring myself to be like, hey, no, that 3 GCDs is not the full mana pool. I should have said that. I should have. But like, these are players who have played for longer than I have. Maybe they know more than I do, but, you know, until I spoke with other healers and they were like, no, that's not right. That's when I gained the confidence to come out and say this. So, let's take a breath. Here's some points of the conversation. Some things that were said. There was a point where Rin says, like, I am straining my co-healer here, because they are having to GCD heal so much that I am straining them. And honestly, no. I'm the one who feels strained here. Like, when I see my co-healer doing this, when I see my co-healer at 0 mana in this phase because they just spammed 7 GCD heals at a time when no healing was needed, I'm the one who feels strained. I'm the one who feels like I have to plan my healing so well that I can heal all of this without their mana. And that's, like, I'm the one who feels strained here. Like, how can you tell me it's ever okay to sit here at 4,000 mana? Like, this is already an issue. And like I said, I tried to communicate and have them use less GCD heals. So I'm not sure if they are not managing their Lucid Dreaming correctly, if they're not managing their Adder's Gall correctly, because Adder's Gall gives you mana when you play it. That's a very important Sage mechanic. I played Sage. Using your Adder's Gall is a very, very important Sage mechanic to give you your mana back, and if you're overcapping on that, then you're not going to have mana. If you're playing without Piety and you're playing at the highest level of the game. So, I tried to communicate with the Sage and tell him, like, you can GCD heal less on the previous phases. We just need to have a little bit of communication for heals and for mits. And they were like, no, it's fine for safety. And so I'm like, okay, but that's fine. Like, you can safety heal and GCD heal everything and have 4,500 mana here. But the moment you get to this phase, you have to actually stop healing. Like, you cannot be spamming this for active uptime, or you're going to have 0 mana. Like, the mana, it just keeps going down. How can you ever tell me this is okay to watch this mana sit here and get drained while nothing is happening? How can anyone tell me that this is an okay thing to see? So, again, sorry if I'm shouting. You know, I'm a passionate person. I get like this. I'm not angry at anyone, or... I mean, I am a bit frustrated, actually, yeah. Because this is not okay. And because I'm, in this moment, like, being gaslit. Because in this moment, in this conversation that I have after this poll, I feel like I'm the one to blame. Like, I'm the one causing them to have 0 mana, because that's what they keep telling me. They keep telling me that I am the one who is straining them, who is forcing them to have 0 mana, that I am not healing enough, and that all of my healing planning is not enough, and that, yes, I am not, if you look at the logs, yes, I do not cast GCD heals because I'm focused on the mechanic, and because it's hard for me to think about doing GCD heals in the moment, to slide cast them as an Astro who doesn't have mobility. So I have like 1 swift cast GCD heal in what I'm trying to do. And so, yes, I should be doing more. I should be. I'm not going to say I'm a perfect player. In this poll, actually, I messed up my entire healing rotation. I made a lot of mistakes. I messed up my healing rotation on this poll. You know, it happens. Like, I'm not a perfect player, and I'm not the best healer in the game. I make mistakes. I'm still learning and trying to do my best, but it feels like I tried to point something out, and everyone started to tell me that I was wrong and that I was making mistakes. And they started to go into the logs and look at the logs and bring up like off-tangent points that did not have anything to do with the point. Like they looked at the logs and were like, oh, you only have this many casts of this ability. And I said, well, yeah, but because I had more casts of the ability, but then like my co-healer started to heal so much that I didn't need to use it anymore, so I just stopped using it. And I tried to tell them like they could stop healing in these spots, but they said it was fine for safety, so I just like, okay, for full HP, why am I going to cast this ability? So yeah, I only have so many casts of Celestial Opposition. I used to have like 7 casts of Celestial Opposition, now I have 4. Because my co-healer is just healing everything, and when I tried to talk to them, they said it was fine for safety. Like, if the mana is an issue, that's something that needs to be communicated. Instead, what ends up happening is these guys like keep saying these things that, and I start to believe them. Like, they keep saying things that were not factually proven. Like, he says 3 GCDs is the full mana pool, and that is straining my co-healer. And first of all, as a Sage player, I know that 3 GCDs should not be straining the co-healer. Like, casting 3 GCDs, casting an Ixical, that's fine. Like, that's a normal thing to do. Casting 8 GCD heals here in the logs to make it look like you are the one solo healing the mechanic is just not right. Because that's what ends up happening. It's because DICE casts all these GCD heals and then shows the logs to people and says, like, look at how many GCD heals I'm casting. I am doing everything in this mechanic. But if you actually look at the numbers here, I was healing more than DICE for this poll. In these numbers, I was doing more healing. And you look at where the healing comes in. This is my healing, okay? I do like 1 GCD heal, 2 GCD heal, and then I do a bunch of off globals. I don't GCD heal here because I'm doing all of these off globals because I've tried to plan my off globals to actually be useful. And like DICE is not doing any off globals except an Ixical. You know, no mitigations. Like the Caracol here is for the raid wide beforehand. And they're just doing GCD heals here. And this is the healing that they put out, almost 10k. This is the healing that I am putting out here, 20k. Okay, so like I know I'm getting into the small details. This was not what I entirely wanted to talk about. It was the small details of this argument, this drama. No. What I wanted to talk about was how it made me felt. Because at the end of it, like, I felt awful. You know, to have everyone tell me, like, I was the one straining my co-healer. I was the one not healing enough. I was the one who was messing up. And telling my co-healer to do fewer GCD heals to save their mana. I was in the wrong there. Because they needed to do those GC heals because I was not healing enough. That's what they kept telling me. And I felt awful. I felt like, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the things that I am seeing, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, you know, I've only played this game a while. I'm new to this game. I started playing this game July of last year. And I started raiding. You know, it took me half a year to do MSQ. I enjoyed MSQ. I loved MSQ. But then I started raiding in Endwalker for Asphodelos, and then Dragon Song, and then Abyssos, and now here at top. I haven't done the older content. I don't have the experience on it. I'm basically a new, fresh raider to this expansion. And it just feels awful to hear all these experienced players. Like, Rin Karagane is the guy I watched on the Uwu video. You know, the Uwu guide? He's on that video. The Tess and Twin Tails guide. You know, it feels awful to hear these people like tell me that I'm wrong, that I'm the one not doing enough, when I feel like, you know, I look at these logs, I see what is happening, I'm like, wait, no, but no, but look at what is happening here, and then it's like, wait, am I in the wrong here? Is there something I don't know here? Like, should the healer really be draining their mana at this point in the fight? Like, why should my co-healer have 0 mana here, when they could be regenerating the mana? They could have like 5,000 mana here because the mana ticks up. They start to regenerate it during the downtime. They could have half their mana. I have 6,000 mana myself. Like, but here they keep draining it and they have 0 mana. Like, is that, you know? And I started to think like, hey, maybe I am wrong here. And then, at the end of it, I got a message that like the communication just wasn't there, and you know, because Dice didn't want to heal with me, and it was either Dice or me, and Dice was friends, and I'm out of the group, and that was really unfortunate, and it felt really bad. But I felt more so bad about this whole conversation that I had with them. And so I had to go and talk to 2 healers that I knew that had played this game for a while, and I sent them the logs, and I talked to them, and they told me like, yeah, man, you're doing the best you can. And if they kick you for that, then honestly, you know, that's on them. And I felt so bad that day that I started to cry in voice chat with one of my friends, because I just felt like I wasn't good enough, and I you know, was awful at the game, and I just got kicked from my static, and felt like I didn't want to raid anymore, because people, all you know, like they started to go in and look at every single GCD, every single off global cooldown usage that I had in my logs. And this is the problem with Final Fantasy XIV elitism, and not just me, but the other people in this static who got replaced before me. Because they were also, their logs were also looked at, you know, they were also like zoomed in, microscopic, you know, the telescope came out and they looked at every single GCD in the logs, and I'm like why? You know, every single usage of how many usages they had of each ability. I'm like, but if the party's not dying and we're not having issues, and no one's communicating that there are issues, then why are we looking at this for you know, if there are issues being communicated, then yeah, people need to step up and start improving things, but issues were never communicated. And then it just feels awful for me, like both for me to be in the position where I am the one who's experiencing that, and to be in the position where I am the bystander, and there are people who are being trialed, or people who are in the static who are getting replaced because of their logs, because of the things that have been examined in their logs. And that's like, okay, I just want to take a breath here, and that's like where I want to, you know, lead into this on, is the Final Fantasy XIV endgame raiding experience that I've had in this game. As I said, I'm a fairly new player. I started raiding an Endwalker, and to join a static like this, because in Dragonsong and in Savage, I did statics with friends who I knew from, you know, from when I was going through MSQ. I met these people, they were friends, and I had only good experiences. You know, you raid with friends, no one's like upset, you make mistakes, you talk about them, you improve, you learn, and then eventually you clear the fight. I cleared Dragonsong, and then I went in PF, and I cleared it in PF a bunch, and it was fun. I had a good time. But this, to join this hardcore static and then have this experience where we are spending 3 weeks replacing members, and then eventually I get replaced over something so silly as this, so silly, like there were no issues up until this point in the fight. You know, they did not kick me because of consistency or anything. They kicked me because like my co-healer did not want to heal with me. They did not want to communicate with me, and it just feels awful, you know. It just like, and not just me getting kicked, but then to experience on the other side to see all these other people who are getting kicked from this static. It feels awful to raid in this game at the high level and to have like people permanently getting replaced. Makes me not want to ever join one of these statics. I never want to raid with one of these groups. I just only want to raid with friends, you know. Like how is this, like this should not be the way the game is. Like people, it feels awful. That's all I can say. It makes me not want to raid. It makes me not want to play the game. To raid with these people. And to experience this. And to feel like I'm the one who's to feel like I'm the one who's causing problems. To have people who have been experienced tell me that I am the one who's causing problems. When I know otherwise. When I communicate with healers who I know who tell me otherwise. And yeah, it just feels awful. What else do I want to say? Like, I mean, I love this game. I love playing the game. I love doing the MSQ. The MSQ is great. I love raiding. Raids in this game are great. They're some of the best content in the game. Or there's some of the best content like that I've played. You know, in multiple across multiple games. And I love raiding with other people who I actually enjoy raiding with, like good people who I met. And you know, I hope I can continue to raid with good players who I've met and make friends in this game. It just feels awful when you raid with players who start to go into your logs and analyze your every GCD and your every ability cast. That should not be the way this game is played. This game should be played with friends. This game should be played in a way where people can learn and improve and talk to each other. Not where in a way where you feel like you feel attacked, where you feel like you are being questioned about every move you're making in the fight, every GCD, everything, and especially for healers. I feel like DPS don't get this as much, you know. DPS and tanks, like, no one really goes into their logs. Like, I'm sure sometimes it happens, but especially for healers, it feels like as a healer, there's so much, you know, that people look at your stuff, even when there are no healing issues. Like, this clip that I was just playing, we did not die to healing issues. We died to the mechanic being executed wrong. We died to the tether popping early and us getting doom. We did not die to healing issues, but the healing issues, the healing conversation exacerbated from, like, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I communicated wrong by trying to ask my co-healer to have more mana there, to stop GCD healing, to have fewer GCD heals, to stop draining their entire mana pool. You know, I mean, maybe I was wrong anyway. I don't want to get back into this. I don't want to keep going and going, but my point is the elite community feels like there's so much that goes into like examining the logs, and it feels awful. It really does, and that's not how this game should be played. It should be played with friends, and it should be a learning experience for people, and they should grow together and then clear the fights and have fun. And unfortunately, some statics are just not like that, and I don't know, it just feels awful to experience that. And I just wanted to share my experience. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll end off there. If any of you see me around, feel free to chat. I'm always open to hanging out, chatting. You know, I hang out in Ferry and Charlan. And yeah, thanks for listening to my rant, you know, about this. And I'll head out. Thank you. Bye.